Well, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Zwift Live broadcast of the Zwift Racing League presented by WTRL. We are into the 2022 season. Round number 1, EMEA Women's Central is what we are covering, along with the Open West. Nathan Guerra here. Dave Towle is actually sat right next to me. Absolutely awesome to have him here. And this race, as it takes off in front of us for Climbers Gambit, the first round. Dave, going to be really interesting. Climbers Gambit, first round. I mean, right from the get-go, you essentially just have a crazy FTP test with a couple of sprints.
Yeah, I mean, this is going to be one of the hardest races that we've ever seen in the history of ZRL starting the season. So it is going to be awesome to see who's bringing their A game as we are firing on all cylinders here in the get-go. So we're going to hit out hard really quickly, Nathan. This one is not a long race. Actually, it's one of the shorter races that we have, the second shortest of the season. But it's going to be the intensity here with 671 meters of climbing. The sting is in the tail, as they say. So with a couple of sprint points or bonus points leading up to the finale, it's going to be just spicy out here all day.
100%. I think right from the get-go, we are going to have some sprint points up front that they're going to be taking on. First and foremost, it is going to be the sprint right out of the reverse of the Essies, a couple of rolling bumps that we will see out there. Real quickly, let's go ahead and head right down into the racing as the ladies have gotten out on course. There they are, and it looks like right from the get-go, Rose Beast Mode out here, the Brazilian Gabriela Schumann, who happens to be actually racing literally right next to us in the same room. And as we move our way around this pack, we're going to start seeing who's going to be trying to set up for the initial sprint out here today.
Yeah, this is going to tell us a lot, and I would think that riders would be designated for this sprint. Nathan, we have so much to talk about as we get this 7th season, but I'm just calling it season 1 here of the third block. Now, your sprinters here, if they can get points now, you might as well go all in. To tell you the truth, it's worth it. It's not even a gamble. So this is going to be, when you look at it, the finale of this race, it's watch per kilogram riders that you're going to be looking at. There's no doubt about that. But right now, sprinters get a chance to make their impact. I see Ayala. There's a name, I believe, coming out of the Americas West. So it's a whole new season, and this little kicker is going to start pushing the tempo now.
Tennille Irish, it looks like from Rave, we see making her way to the front. Rave has got quite the contingent in amongst this group here. So we're going to see how Rave is going to try and play some things. Am I seeing as well as Revo Coalition in here? And it looks like Roca Corba has shown up. The South African here, Colleen, has made her way to the front at 171 beats per minute. Is she trying to set something up for a teammate? Because leading into this little bit of a kick, that's a dangerous move here, Dave.
It really is. And this is where, again, this is the difference now, is we're very, very close to getting to the JW Bridge. That's a significant landmark in actually Watopia history out here as we take a look right now at the teams trying to position themselves a little bit that's a big surge coming. These are the teams that we've really gotten to know throughout the years in the Premier League.
Yeah, 100%. Now, here we go. The over the top now through the Essies, and this is going to be leading right into that reverse sprint. The first points of this season up for grabs, and we get to start to see who are going to be the hitters in the EMEA Central for the women. Roca Corba here, still right around that 4th position, sitting well, but we've got, it looks like, Aeonian making the way to the front. Now is the time for the kick. Who's going to go? It's going to be Coalition making the way to the front. Now it's going to be Tinholm though as well, coming from SZ on the front. Lawson from Aeonian. Daniel Estrada there with the arrow power up, just walks away with it. Verhaaren is there. Pitkin, Aeonian, they go 1, 2, 3, 4. Oh my gosh. Aeonian just made the statement of the year coming right from the get-go.
Rose Beast Mode looked like they came through and picked up some of the spots that were sitting in the top 10. That was a boom moment out there for Aeonian. This is one of the best teams in the history of esports, and they certainly made a statement to start out this fresh season here. Watch out for counterattacks coming now, as here we go. That might even split the group with the surge. I saw Ariel Verhaeren was up there as well, an athlete with Olympic experience in the BMX bike, getting up there in that kick. But wow, truly a statement, that first sprint at JW Bridge Reverse.
Yeah, JW Bridge Reverse there with those segment points, and maybe Aeonian making a statement there about how they're going to try and take on the entirety of this race, Dave? Or is this a play to say, look, we might not have the climbers' legs. We're going to grab as many points as we possibly can up front with our teams. I know Daniela Strate, she is going to be a rider to watch out for when it comes to the climb, but the rest of the team maybe not going to have quite the same kick when it comes to the climbers' Gambit end of this race, when they're over the top of that reverse mountain route. That is really going to put some sting in the legs, and I have a feeling that perhaps these riders may be trying to just get as many points as they can up front, because we've got 40 points across the line for the teams, right, Dave? 40 points for first, 35 for second, and 30 for third. That's a huge amount of points to be grabbing, compared to the sprint sections. Very different structure there on the bonus points. 10, 9, 8 for first, second, and third, all the way down to 1 point for that 10th. So we'll see how this ends up playing out here for this next section. But Aeonian, I don't know if I've ever even seen anything like that before, Dave, as far as the point structure, grabbing for points there up front in a race like this. What a move by Aeonian. And talk about being savvy, Dave. I mean, they've really had to know exactly where to go, how, when, and why. Now they're going to be taking on this reverse KOM here for the climb. And this is going to be, but it's not the full climb. It's just the little uphill on the reverse KOM of the hilly route, the reverse hilly route KOM, and a left-hand turn immediately on that little shortcut so that you cut off the rest of it. So this little punch right here, probably not going to drop too many riders or anything. It's just a little bit of a section where maybe somebody could give it a go and try and put somebody into some hurt that's already struggling.
I would really say, Nathan, for the Aeonian team, playing to your strength is going to be, in this sport, esports, is the way to get it done out there. And certainly when they pick up those bonus points now, you do look at the finale of this race. I mean, I do see some names here. One of them really stands out to me is Lizzie Brooke, formerly Lizzie Duncombe. She got married last year, but Lizzie has had a very strong season on the triathlon bike, is moving into racing a lot more on the road. And I do think that she's going to be a rider that we're going to be talking about in the back end of this race. I want to make sure she's still in this group. I had her on my start list out here.
Now, it does look like Norden here from SZ, giving a little bit of punch. Now, Colleen here coming from Roca Corba to the front. Again, this racer,
this is their forte.
She did this through the SEs, Dave. She did this through the SEs. We saw her on a little bit of a push over and over again. And now it looks to me like Roca Corba are just trying to make this race hard for the other riders here. Rather than wait for moments, they're just trying to really bring some attrition into the legs.
Yeah, and if you think it's hard now, just wait, right? Because this is an appetizer that's being served up. As you got to give Roca Corba credit now. So the Empire strikes back. We see Aeonian in the early part of this race really making their mark. Now we get to see Roca Corba as the tables are turning out there just a little bit. We've got a solo breakaway going clear. Let's watch this small gap now and see. You can see that Roca's sitting on the chase, but they've got a lot of riders sitting up in the top 10 right now.
Look at this here now, Dave. The separation that's happening, it's mainly they're breaking riders off the back. I'm not sure, though, that pack is going to get splintered enough to make this an actual breakaway move, but she's putting hurt in the legs for the rest of the teams, which is going to give them a lot of advantage when it comes to gaining as many points across the finish line at the end. If they can drop riders off now, it makes them much more secure later when it comes to a Titans Grove sprint as well as the Climbers Gambit finish line.
I agree. It's really not so much about a breakaway as it is breaking riders off the back of the group in major chunks out there right now. And I'm going to say that maybe 15 riders that maybe were going to be an issue later are not going to be involved, because that's going to be a resetting. Maybe does that group of 5 get back in? That's going to be close here as we look at the coalition rider trying to chase. This is where esports racing is you don't dig any deeper than these athletes are right now.
Yeah, Coalition now trying to work to get back on terms. It looks like it is going to be beast mode. Also giving a little bit of punch toward the front of this with Nallman. Nallman actually coming from Kirchner Cycling. Young there from Coalition. We do, as you did say, there's about 4 or 5 riders here trying to make their way back. It's going to be beast mode fight here with Miller trying to come across. Young is there and Beck from the ESRT team, but already the left-hand turn 3 seconds up the road, and that pack is not going to be waiting for anybody. Nothing but a dust cloud in front of Paxman at this point, as it's going to be, I think, let's see if we can get a head count on this. I'm looking at about 31, 32 riders with Daniela Estrate. Man, she is so savvy. Look where she's sitting, and she's getting that 150% plus draft right now, just sitting in so quietly, waiting for her moment to pounce. 32 riders, it looks like, Dave. This has been completely blown apart. It started with 59.
Yeah, I mean, they basically have that field. You got to give Estrate credit. The Romanian rider has so much experience, and combined with the horsepower, that she right now is going to be very, very dangerous in the finale here. So that's going to be, again, you look at our front group here. If you can get yourself into the sweet spot right now and just chill, keep your central nervous system at as low of a burn rate as possible, you're certainly putting yourself in position to be there for the finale.
Let's go ahead and take a quick look at how that sprint played out just a few moments ago. The riders, they were flying through the Essies there. And the way that it's set up, it was quite an interesting section, of course, here as they come down this intense downhill, -6% grade. Some of the riders are able to get into a little bit of a super tuck. But now, as you can see, the pack is completely bunched up. Anybody who's sitting about that 3rd, 4th, 5th wheel, they did get an amazing advantage, actually, because nobody really gave a kick. They all waited until that final moment, Dave, it looked like, to give that final little bit of a surge. Sometimes riders give it a go before. This time around, though, Dave, they just waited till that final moment and went for it.
I think that's respect for what's coming at the end of this race as well. Nobody wants to burn a match that they don't need to burn out here. It's interesting because as aggressive and frenetic as this race has been, it's also been raced until this group might come back. Look at this now. That's once that peloton settled in and everyone realized that, again, being conservative.
So looking at the replay here, Daniela Estrate, look at how she just took this down. Pitkin, Verhaeren, Lawson, that's going to be the 4 across the line for first place. But if we take a look at the points, though, and how they ended up playing out for this section of course, what's really interesting about this is that it looks like because of first across the line, as well as fastest through segment being a part of this, it does change things up just a tad. As we look at this here, it's going to be Pitkin coming through with 29 points because first across the line, but she also got fastest through segment for Aeonian. Daniela Estrate with 25. It looks like Sarmiento there with 14 from Beast Mode. Lawson with 13 there. Then it's going to be Martin Verhaeren there as well for 12. So as you can see, the first across the line and fastest through segment mix there for our final segment points for that first section, of course. So this is where things stand after the JW Bridge. Now we've gotten Titans Grove to come ahead of us. Now it's going to be more about a sprint/climb because it is kind of just a 1-minute punch, really.
Yeah, well, exactly. And this is how esports can be so much fun for the athletes. There's a lot more going on out there. It would be virtually impossible to score all of this in real life event, but it gives the athletes a lot to fight for out here. It's really 3 rounds that we've got out here. The first 2 certainly not as heavily weighted as the finale. And Nathan, I think we have a lot of riders right now. I'm looking at Beast Mode being one of the teams that seems to be waiting for the Lionesses' share of the points that are waiting at the top of the final climb out here, where really everything will be sorted out. Let's take a look now. This is going to be a chase group that we're looking at. They're about to make contact, aren't they? Wow, that's really impressive.
Yeah, Nauman there making the final push, it looks like. Look at the selection of bike here coming from Nauman. She took the Cadex wheels with the felt, interesting enough here. So she kind of went for a very middle of the ground, it looks like. Middle of the road, half climber, half sprinter, half arrow when it comes to the bike situation. I do see a lot of those Scots out there. I do see some interesting Venge, which are a lot heavier, but with some different wheel setups. It looks like a lot of these riders also picking the Tron, which is, again, is going to be a little bit on the heavier side. Now, but I do know that a few riders have gone all in on the climbing setup. And if we look around here, lots of Scott addicts, though. Interesting enough. So these are really riders who have chosen to go all in when it comes to the middle of the road setup here, rather than that kind of half climber, half arrow. Not necessarily going all in on this final climb. I mean, it's a 6-second difference, Dave.
Yeah, I'm surprised, to tell you the truth.
Maybe even 14 seconds between some of them. That's a huge amount of time on that Climber's Gambit, the finish of this Climber's Gambit course.
Yeah, I mean, with 671 meters of climbing, that's an excessive amount out here. It's only 28K of racing. As you can see right now, our front group is just past 10.4K in. Boy, right when that group is about to join, another surge comes out of the pelotons. It looks like they're going to find another gear out here. That's going to be Gabi Schumann that we're looking at now, the rider racing out of Germany. And this is where they start licking their lips. The climbers are going to start getting ready for what's going to be the biggest opportunity that they've got here in this first race of the third batch of seasons 2022-2023 season 1, and here we go. You can see riders starting to reposition themselves. It's going to be another flurry of attacks coming right now. This is going to be Carly Engström. Swedish Zwifters are always in the mix.
Yeah, Engström now making her way to the front. Swedish Zwifters, we saw from them in the knockouts, actually, Zwift, the kind of show that they put on and just the domination from them in the knockouts races now. Now we are seeing a little bit of a kick here toward the front there. Again, Roka Korba taking over. As you can see, as far as power-ups go today, keeping a look at it is going to be the feather power-up, the drafting power-up, and the arrow power-up. 34% chance to be getting the feather power-up today. Arrow power-up is going to be 33% chance, and the van or draft, a 33% chance out there today. 28 kilometers of racing, 17.4 miles, but with that 670 meters of climbing, that's where a lot of this time is going to be coming in to the race. There was a lot of chatter about what bike to use. Engström, was that a dropout coming in from Engström? I'm not sure what just happened there. All of a sudden, just disappearing from our screen. Interesting enough. We'll see if we get her back here. That would be a huge loss, actually. She did make her way back in. Okay, good to see. I thought I saw a dropout there for her for a moment ago here. How are Rave doing? You know, this is going to be interesting to me because Team Rave, they are a very well-known team. In the B, C, and D categories, I've seen them have some major results. But when it comes to the A category racing in that Div 1 level, you know, I haven't seen them compete at the very, very top podium level all the time against, you know, teams like Beast Mode, teams like SZ, you know, Roka Korba. Are they going to show up in the beginning of this season and really have that kind of result that they need to put themselves amongst those names when it comes to results? They're there in the community. I mean, they're the dance team. They're the party. You know, they're obviously a huge community presence. But will they get those results this year, Dave?
Yeah, well, the ascension to the top, right? But you have to look at Electric Spirit Company. Where were they a year ago? Look how quickly they've been able to make that climb. Roka Korba, same thing. They had the Moolman boost, Ashley Moolman-Passio with that team, but this is going to be some real action happening right now as we take an Aeonian body blow after body blow being thrown by these women here. It looks like Gabrielle Schumann's going to be able to get up to that group. This is a big moment right here, right now. This race is going down.
Yeah, Itkin here coming from Aeonian now off the front there. The Norwegian trying to make something happen. Schumann now looking to close it down and coming across. And she is on that lightweight setup as well. You can see here she is going to be using, it looks like the Alpinist with the Athos here. That's the setup for the climb. Will it be able to hold on? Even the feather.
Wow.
7.3 watts per kilogram. The draft comes out from Aiken, but nothing's going to happen. Verhaeren trying to come across. 8.2 watts per kilogram. Here comes the sprinter. Verhaeren, isn't she? She's the BMX rider. Does she have the kick? Is the BMX rider going to be able to go across? No, Schumann just puts the gas down over the top. 2-second gap grabs 10 points for the team. Aeonian, though, they go second, third, and fifth.
Yikes. And two things to take away from that. One, when Gabi Schumann is climbing, it's like an angel in a shaft of light ascending to heaven. She's unbelievable. But Aeonian are monsters. I mean, this team, okay, taking Schumann out of the equation, Aeonian is absolutely killing it out here. And if they can do that there, you better brace yourselves. Time to rock up, ladies, as the big show is coming. We're 13K into a 28K race, and the featured climb is going to come up very, very quickly. Not every woman is going to survive that last effort there, as these points on Titans KOM. That's the reverse look at it there. And man, so, yeah, cracking ride out there by Schumann and Rose Beast Mode. But look at Aeonian all over the front. That group is significantly smaller than 32.
It is. It's much, much smaller. We're looking at about, if we go back here, 21 maybe making it here.
Right.
Daniel now trying to get back on terms, 22
How about
riders
Verhaeren being there, Nathan? I mean, she's a BMX racer, a mom, lives in Utah. She's racing at altitude. This is an incredible ride. I'd say she's leveled up here for season 1.
Yeah, looking at this, I wonder if Verhaeren has maybe been putting some work in on the bike in order to specifically be more towards the road cyclist. You know, I have a feeling that there's been a little bit of work done with the kind of effort she was able to put in there on that climb and hanging on with the likes of, Schumann, Daniela Strate.
Yikes,
This is a whole nother level of climber.
I'm going to say maybe what's inspiring her would be being around young BMXers, because she's coaching the national team now. And I'm going to guess they Zwift. She's probably Zwifting more because she's with those kids. That's not a bad guess, to tell you that. Both, actually, would make a lot of sense. But anyways, it's great to see a rider leveling up. This is going to be M. Nyquist, Revo Arrows, that we're looking at now. Again, the fighting spirit here, this group that's about to retag on, that is the essence of what bike racing is all about. If you're a quitter, you don't make it back. If you've got heart, you keep fighting, and those ladies are definitely what personifying the best of esports right now. Never give up. Best of life.
We've got this group here 8 seconds back now, Dave. And Cass now. This section, Dave, is so difficult to get back on terms. The rolling nature of the reverse descent and the way that the turns the way the turns function on this rolling descent and the way that the pack can kind of just slip away from you so many times. I actually did the recon ride with Electric Spirit Company the other day, and I just went out and did it at a steady pace as more of a recon. It was a race, but I did it as more of a steady pace to kind of check it out and see how it feels. And I was with some of the riders that were probably amongst an A- type group. And to get back to them at my steady effort power, I had to throw down threshold effort on the downhill, and they weren't even working through this section, Dave. This section for the pack is a huge advantage. Look at this, continue to go out. They're barely working on the front. It looks like Cass and the rest here, they're going to have to look forward to the climb. Now, I did pick up about, 15 to 20 riders on the climb, though. So if they do reserve enough and they don't just go completely burn all their matches here, anybody up front that doesn't maybe belong there on the climb might be coming back to them quickly later on.
This is the dance with the devil that is elite esports racing, because burning matches here, just going on a high burn rate, is absolutely necessary to get back into that group. But by the time you join, you're just about going to be hitting the bottom of the climb where the fireworks will be igniting. So right now, again, it's all about this heart that we're seeing. This group organizing is going to be really the key to their success when you look at this 4-rider group that we've got. Again, this bike race is just right at that moment where it's going to blow up. But all of these ladies certainly looking at each other after what they just witnessed from Schumann. You know that that's a rider that's got a huge target on her back here. But what I love about a climb like in our finale, Nathan, is that you either have it or you don't. Either got the legs or you don't out here. It's not going to be about marking the right rider. It's going to be about having your great day.
Let's take a quick look at the course and what we've done so far. Here is the Velo Viewer powered by Strava, Watopia, Climbers Gambit. It's going to be 27.8 kilometers. They've covered 16.4 so far. 17.28 miles, 670 meters of climbing, and 2190. Man, when we look at it in feet for the American eyes here, almost they're looking at a little over 2,000 feet of climbing. This is a big day for everybody. They've already done everything that you've seen so far from the map, but now the map, as you can see here, that climb at the end there just goes on forever, and you can see it gets steeper and steeper and steeper almost as it goes on. And there's each of the points that there are the sprint, and then Titans Grove, and then the finish with the big 40, 35, and 30. That is the course today. And then a little bit of a look here at it as a profile. And there, oh no, that's Sprinters Playground. That's not what we're on today. We're actually, apologies on that. We're on Climbers Gambit. Sprinters Playground, that's from last season. Here we go, sprint, KOM, and then look at that climb at the end here from that 21-kilometer point on. That's where the real time's put in here, Dave.
Yeah, and if you're a climbing specialist, Nathan, these opportunities don't come along often enough. There's no doubt that I'm thinking back, let's just say 6 races per season, maybe even 8 races per season with ZRL. You've only had 5 or 6 days like this in the ZRL. This is your opportunity. I don't know of athletes that work harder than the climbing specialists to be, watching their diet, the efforts, the intervals, everything it takes. This is showtime. Get it on here. And that comes up quickly as we're coming up on 10K to go. But again, when the sting is in the tail like that, this is where we will find out who the best climbers are, without any doubt about it. And Aeonian, they've got their entire team of 5. This is unreal. Aeonian has put the entire team in this front group. Nathan, they still have Barbara Frisch here to watch.
That's
a very talented rider.
I think that Barbara has been waiting. I have a feeling that Frisch has been
100%.
holding off and
100%.
waiting because she's got some climbing legs, and she has been sitting because she has not been taking part at all. From what I'm seeing, if we look at the points here, Dave, Daniela Strate with 46, Itkins there for 45, Verhaeren for 30. Schumann now, big jump from her, fastest through segment and first across the line points. Full 30 points for her on that last one. It looks like Sarmiento there with 24, so they are very involved. If Beast Mode if they really want to do something here, it's going to be about this climb for Beast Mode, and they're going to have to drop a lot of these Aeonian girls on this climb.
I like the mindset of when you've got a team with so much talent, so multidimensional, using role players. Then obviously the Ariel Verhaerens and the Daniela. I think Daniela Strate might be able to do it all, punch every ticket out there today. She might score the highest in all 3 opportunities today. Talking about the Romanian Estrate, but you're 100% right, Nathan. Barbara Frisch has been kept on ice, packed away. They're going to spring her now in that last 5K of this race. Expect her to go nuclear out there. Again, though, how do you beat Gabby Schumann today? That's going to be extremely challenging.
Just real quickly here, we are hearing you in chat that there are other races happening. So we can give you a little bit of an update on what's happening in the B category. As you do see here, it is going to be Kremner and Daniel leading things out for, I'm not sure the team there actually, as the jersey's not coming on through, but it is going to be Zimmerman and then Meadows and Oliver. That is the current top 5 within the B category for the ladies of this Central Div 1. In the C category, Jay Schumann, interesting enough. I don't think there's a relation, but with 52 points at the top in the C category. Bergen there, followed up by Haggerty, and then it's going to be One Row and Kirsten. That is going to be the situation for the top 5 in with the C category for the women in this Central Div 1. And in the D category, Groeneweg there with the full 30 points there for first cross line and fastest through segment. That is only so far for they have not done Titans Grove yet for the D category. One Row with 22, Marshall, then Faulkner. Now they are just getting through Titans Grove. There's the update, and Faulkner grabbing some big points there, it looks like, for that D category. Groeneweg there with 30, Blackburn, One Row, and Marshall. That's the situation for the top 5 across them, but we're backing with the A's. They are just going through that old school Jarvis tree that what made that well, the lore that I've essentially made up with all the other OG Zwifters is that made the transfer over from the old school Jarvis Island. Just shout out back to him as they hit Ocean Boulevard. They're going to head up toward the marina, but instead of hitting the marina, they're going to take that left-hand turn and on to the slopes of the reverse mountain route. This is really where it all goes down here, Dave. We're talking about a 17, 18, 19, 20-minute climb or so, full gas all the way to the top, and 5 watts per kilogram, and set it steady, I think, for some of these top ladies.
Even that Stingray is impressed with these ladies. And I tell you what, if you're in this group, you are a heavy hitter. There's no question. You've survived. And now we're going to find out who the elite of the elite are. And it looks like Roca is going to make another bit of a move. Revo is up there as well. But just the setup happening. And now this is where you start to see Daniel Estrate, who's only there when it matters. She's that canary in a coal mine. If you see her up near the front, it's time to get yourself moving, because you get the feeling that, yeah, look at the shape of the group changing. This is where you feel that dynamic when you're in the peloton, that it's about to hit and hit hard. As we're in with Marv right now, Beast Mode, a team that's growing, a German team, Rosed Beast Mode, and we're going to be watching out for them now. But notice that, I was noticing Aeonian is not entirely on the front, but I get the feeling that obviously the call for the climbers has been made. One rider dangling right now, just a couple seconds off the front, but it's certainly an interesting indicator of things to come, as we're down to 7K of racing remaining out here. But that is where they're racing to the top of the mountain here, where things will all be sorted out. This is your front group, as they are now ready to clash swords here on the gravel section. Nathan working way through here into what's obviously a little bit of trepidation in this group. You can feel it right now. Everybody realizes what's coming.
Yeah, and it looks like as we get into this little bit of a dirt section, interesting enough, the riders here falling off just a tad. Courage with beast mode. Maybe was just trying to draft. Well, 168 beats per minute, calming things down, but off the front now. Attacks
very
early.
Interesting, isn't it? Yeah.
Roca went, so it looks like Roca Corba decided to go from the bottom of
so it
the
is
Ocean
Pretorius.
Boulevard punch.
Yes. Wow. So again, very quickly to update, there's 3 different power-ups that you can get: the feather, the draft, and the arrow. Obviously, having the feather tucked away in your back pocket is going to be critical. It could be the difference maker. Most likely would be the difference maker. But this ride from Harms and Pretorius is certainly noteworthy here. I'd have to give her the Courageous Rider of the Day award. So this starts the proper climb, and you can just feel it kick up right to 9% now. This is where you're going to find out who brought their A game.
Yeah, and as you can see here, it is going to be Pretorius here now, making her way over the top of this first little kick. 10% gradient. Beast mode with Schumann. Coming across, it looks like the Brazilian now over the top. 7.3 watts per kilogram right from the get-go of this climb. Says, forget it. She's giving it a go. 7.1 watts per kilogram. And this is why she chose this setup. Look at this, Dave. Off the front, already gaining 1 second. Nobody even responding now, as you can see. 311 watts now. Schumann here continues on with this. Now, this is an initial kick. Now getting into rhythm, or what do you think's happening here, Dave?
Well, 100% get into rhythm. And to tell you the truth, you know the saying, well, you're in Wisconsin, fish or cut bait. Well, this is a team sport. If I'm Aeonian, I might just let Gabby go, to tell you the truth, and try to focus on getting the second, the third, the fourth place points to remind everyone. Now, the points waiting at the top of the climb, 40 for the first rider over, 35 for second, 30 for third, and then it kind of declines by 1 point per for about the next 10 spots. So heavily weighted for the top 5 riders who come through. So you don't need to win the race outright, as it looks like Gabby Schumann is obviously intent on doing. More power to her, but this is a classic every woman for herself situation now. Don't get baited into blowing up chasing Gabby when you could give up a whole bunch of points by doing that. You follow me on that logic?
Yeah, 100%. I am seeing the comments coming through on the No HRM. We actually have the benefit of having Schumann directly here in studio, and we did see the disconnect. The HRM was connected at the start line, and some sort of failure between the heart rate monitor and Zwift. The heart rate monitor was looked to be swapped at the last moment, and not sure what was happening with the connection, but definitely had the HRM there. We'll see if perhaps it can be, I don't know, maybe she just gets a big enough gap and pushes A and goes ahead and tries to connect again. But it was definitely there prior to the start of the race. We'll see if she can try and, though, hang on here. This initial kick, and now Colin, though, coming across here, coming from South Africa. And now it looks like it's going to be a 3-up with Barbara Frisch, Colin, and Schumann.
Rocacorba has a tradition of great climbing, and they certainly are backing that up right now as we've got a three-runner group coming together as Sykes is on a phenomenal day here as well.
Yeah, it looks like it. And Fast Bergland here now. Norden, Engstrom, those three all looking to make the chase. So it does look like Team SC are looking to work together to try and bring this back. Osterby here, though, from the Danish rider here on the front. Look at this group.
Barbara Frisch, right? Apologize there. So Barbara Frisch, the Aeonian rider who's made it up into that front group. A lot of Swedes. Wow.
Yeah, and it looks like Osterby now with the Dane here. 5.8, 6.1 watts per kilogram now coming from her. It looks like as she comes over the top. Daniela Strate, though, looks like she was saving for this moment perhaps to try and bridge across as the Strate now kicks up into 360 watts, 6.1 watts per kilogram, 177 beats per minute coming from Strate. Aeonian now really putting the gas on.
Yeah, you start looking at all of these Swedish flags here. That's a great indicator. Now, we'll see how they play their cards in the finale, but that's not a bad sign. Ariel Van Haren still holding on. Impressive job by the American here. Looking at Estrate moving up, though. So, again, Daniela Estrate comes in with real credentials in esports, and she's delivering once again. Aeonian, Swedish Swifter, certainly. Roca having a tremendous day, but look at the damage that's been done all the way back down the climb right now.
Yeah, looking at just the top 10 or so of the riders here. Norden hanging on the back here. WLC looks to get across the Barre here. And it's going to be, that's Linda from Rose Beast Mode now falling off pace as it really starts to pick up. And now you really get into the nuts and bolts of this climb, right, Dave? The initial kick is over. You're about 3 to 4, maybe 5 minutes in now at this point. And now those who really have something left, they're going to they're going to get into their steady state or turn on the gas, and we'll start seeing the attacks later on in this climb.
Yeah, I mean, you've passed one threshold to get this point. The thing that's amazing to me is the number of riders still here going back in and picking up the Tête de la Course on the front of the bike race, and that's going to be the machine. Gabby Schumann here taking a look, and again, the South African having a tremendous day. This is a big step up for the Roca team on a course like this. What a great way to start the season. One of the hardest courses that we've ever seen. The intensity is off the charts, and these ladies are throwing down right now. Again, it looks like we've got two together here. Exceptional rides from Schumann and Cole.
Yeah, Colin here now and Schumann now off the front. It looks like the response is coming in, and Barbara Fish now falling off pace. We did see Schumann go on the attack here after they came across, and now really giving it a go on these little steeper sections of the course. Now 5.0 watts per kilogram steady. Now Colin now looking to come across. 1 second gap. Now Frisch now falling backwards. And he's going to look to work with Osterby and Estrate as they now are 9 seconds back. It went up to 11 now. Now it looks like this kick and then back. Kick and then back. Interesting enough here. But Schumann getting into a steady state, it looks like still 10 seconds up.
I'm looking at this from the big picture right now. Again, these two are riding away with this bike race, but look at the job being done here by Aeonian. And this is what I was talking about, just riding. You used the word rhythm. It's a tremendous word. It's just holding on in this group right now because there's a lot of points right here. This is the sweet spot. How about another Dane to note? That's Osterby, tremendous. That's going to be the Argentinian rider, well-known in esports, Barbara Frisch sitting up there. But Aeonian has 3 in this group. Nathan, with what they did earlier, if you dovetail those points in with the finale, they're in pretty good shape. The one team that's really going to be challenging here, they've also been challenging at the sprint points, are the Swedish Swifters, but right now they're on the back foot.
Yes, and as you can see here, 4 second gap between the two leaders. Now looking to come across here again, Osterby here, and this is going to be in that Rocacorba kit actually. So Osterby must be riding for them, working together with perhaps Colin, maybe trying to drop the rest of this pack and not bring them across. They definitely would not want to have that. So in this situation, Osterby's not going to be pacing these other riders to try and bring them across. She's just going to look to straight drop them prior to any of these descent sections. This is quite the move here from the Danish rider. 185, 186 beats per minute. Looks like she is going to try and get across to Catherine Colin from the other Rocacorba team member here. Now it's going to be 2v1 perhaps if she does get across. Schumann now fading a little bit, it looks like. Actually, it's a downhill section here. So after this little bit of downhill, we'll see if she does kick again. We will see little changes in the seconds between the riders here for just a moment as they do get this little ups and downs happening now. 2-second difference now between the two leaders. Osterby now 7 seconds back.
Yeah, it's a challenging climb. We're on Climbers Gambit, and that's a couple of these little drops that you have before you have to reignite again. So, okay, taking a look at the situation now, you can see that it really is every woman for herself out here. Our leader with the Brazilian flag, there is Gabby Schumann, and she is flat out flying. But what's coming behind her? A very impressive job by Roca Corba today. As a matter of fact, I'd call it leveling up for Roca Corba when you look at the quality of this field. And they've got 2 riders sitting up in the top 3. As a matter of fact, they're about to make contact, and they're trying to turn the tables now as they are in command at this point. 2 riders in a 3-rider front group. What a massive, massive outing today for Roca Corba.
Roca Corba, 2 jerseys now bridging across to the Rose Beast mode rider. Schumann trying to hang on as Osterby now goes over the
Unreal.
top. 200 meters elevation total now at this point. We're about halfway up the climb, and this is the moment of truth here for the winner. Looks like Osterby here, the Danish rider, now holding off the attack here from, or the try to hang on here from Schumann as Colin just sits with her, it looks like here. Doesn't look to go across to her teammate. It actually looks like she's going to sit on and wait and not pull her across. Very smart move here from the Roca Corba team.
Well, it's interesting. The difference in points between second and third is 5. Actually, between first and second is 5 as well. This is going to be a massive tally that Roca Corba is going to be picking up if they can hold on to, at worst, out of the top 3, 2 of those spots. And it might even be better than that, as they're throwing more coal on the fire now as we go inside of 3K to go. And this is where you really separate the wheat from the chaff. The constant grade. It's just body blow after body blow. What a ride from Roca Corba out here today. This is Osterby's coming out party. Amazing to see how many talented climbers come out of Denmark.
6.0 watts per kilogram. The Danish rider here really putting on the hurt here as Colin now is going to be trying to come across as well, and it's going to be 2 up the road. Beast mode now. Gabriella Schumann fading a little bit here. 240 watts, 230 watts here now. 4.4 watts per kilogram, and it looks like Engstrom and the rest here looking to try and hunt her down. Barre, Estrate, Fast Berglund, Verharen now maybe going to start fading off here. 10% gradient, and this is where it really starts to hurt. These kinds of bumps here now. And the other thing, Dave, we are going to go over this section of course, and then it's going to be a sharp downhill, and this group is going to get a pretty good boost of speed from that downhill section.
I mean, that's a peloton. To tell you the truth, for Climbers Gambit, that really is a peloton. What a great perspective on how steep this climb is. It's not the distance of today's race. It's the severity, as these riders are absolutely burying themselves on the climb at this point. You're right, Nathan. That's got to be good for 1 second to 2 seconds, the advantage that they'll have on that short little downhill run.
Yep, and it looks like they are going to be hunting down Schumann, the top 3 here now at this point. But Osterby, look at the gap that she's opened up halfway through here, saving those fireworks for this section. Really playing it smart here, it looks like.
Yeah, so Schumann holding on in third right now. Colin in second. As the gap is starting to grow, you can see just tremendous separation here. It's like the absolutely living up to not only the Climbers Gambit name, but what a way to start the season. Holy cow. So, all right, taking a look again, this is going to be the Danish rider who's really set the pace. This is the platinum standard that we've got out here. She's down to about 2 kilometers of racing remaining. It's a long 2K out there. Her South African teammate, Colin, sitting there in second now, and solidly in second as that advantage has gone up over 10 seconds to Schumann. But Schumann is still fighting like a beast out here as Danielle Estrate in at fourth, and that's where Aeonian really starts to pick things up right now. Actually is going to be one of the Swedish Swifters, Tidholm and Verharen there riding together with Engstrom. So Swedish Swifters looking for a late race rally here.
Yeah, it looks like that rally may be coming in as they're looking to catch beast mode with Schumann, but she's still got 5 seconds here. Will she be able to break the rest of that pack now? And Schumann saying, no, not going to be able to hold on. We can actually get a camera shot here real quickly of the suffering. Schumann is absolutely demolishing herself, burying herself now at this point, almost at the point of just completely buried, as you can see here from the camera shots. So Schumann looks to try and hang on. A little bit of a shake of the head there as she's really pulling at this point to try and hang on to anything. She is at 4.6 watts per kilogram. Angstrom and the rest here trying to close it down, but unable to do so far.
The severity of this climb. I mean, when the old saying, it just got real. Well, this is this certainly personifies that, maybe a little bit too real, to tell you the truth. This, what a ride we're witnessing out here from Roca Corba today. As I don't know if it's going to be enough, but it's certainly looking like it might be with the way that this point structure is set up, and a tremendous job done in support of ZRL with our friends at WTRL to create a very, very interesting race coming into the finale. You can see now, again, that huge group together, so many of the points that will be decided there. It looks like it's going to come down to a sprint. Hard to believe, as I thought it would be woman after woman finishing alone out here today. That's a remarkable size group that we've got here. And the mix of Swedish Zwifters along with Aeonian is going to have this one coming down to every point mattering.
Now it is going to be a group that regathers here into the final now. And Schumann, 4.4 watts per kilogram, caught now by Angstrom, Frisch, and then it's going to be Verhaeren. Aeonian really set up at this point. Interesting to see. ESRT now also in there. WLC now making it as well, though. And so it's going to be, what are the teams here, Dave? It's going to be Roca Corba off the front. 2 now at this point. Osterby about to finish things up here, it looks like, and just going to walk away with this one.
So that's 75 points for those two if they hold on.
Just together, 75 points. Yeah, and so if we're looking at the current point structure and what's left on the points here, if we do see, it's going to be Estrate alongside Wittgen and then Martin Verhaeren. That's all Aeonian at the top, and then Schumann and Sarmiento. But here we go with Roca Corba. They're not even on that list, though, here at this point. They're going to make a jump into the top 10. But interesting enough, not on the list at this point. So is it going to be enough? Because Aeonian, I think, are going to stack the top 10 pretty well here.
This is going to be a really good example of how you have to understand the field at play, the point structure, because I don't think it's going to be enough. And you would think taking first and second on Climbers Gambit, that should win you the day. But I think that the work done earlier by Aeonian, considering the fact that they didn't completely fade to black in the finale, they're still holding on to, correct me if I'm wrong, is it 3 of the top 10 spots that they have? Verhaeren, Frisch, yeah, they've got maybe even 4 of the top 10 spots right now. I think that might be enough if they can hold on.
Yeah, I think so too. With that many here, it might come down to a couple of sprint points at the end here. We'll have to wait and see, or not sprint points, but depending on where they end up in this final top 10. But top 10 are all over 20 points, Dave. All top
there
10,
isn't a lot of difference.
25 is the lowest that they can get in this top 10.
Exactly. I mean, you take the mean average of that, they're going to be scoring around 27.5 points per rider, which is pretty darn good when you consider that the winner only getting 40, only with quote air quotes around it. But all in all, the real sweet spot is here in these second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth, which are, well, second isn't in play either, as it's going to be absolute clinic, a climbing clinic being put on by Roca Corba, but I'd have to say a ZRL clinic being put on by Aeonian out here today. And again, the proof is in the pudding.
Look at this here, the suffering on camera here right now. Schumann just trying to hang on. Those early attacks, paying for them a little bit here now at this point. She is trying to jump across to Asa Fast Bergland here. And the group is starting to go away a little bit as we're into the final. It does look like, though, here for Osterby, this is going to be it for her. The climbing is over. 17 seconds up for Colin. It is going to be Roca Corba. What a statement from Moomin Passio's team here, showing up on the same course that she won in the Premier Division last year.
Yeah, esports world champion Ashley Momin-Passio from 2 seasons ago has built this team from the ground up. That was an exceptional performance. I would say a command performance out here from Roca Corba. And We're not sure, to tell you the truth. They're going to tabulate the points right now. Is it enough to take the lead here on the first race of the season? We'll find out. It certainly leaves an impression. Now, this is huge. Taking third place, it looks like Barbara Frisch now, the Argentinian rider on Aeonian, will come through. They'll take third and fourth, it looks like, with Aeonian. Maybe even third, fourth, and fifth. And that,
wow, right
well,
at the end here,
quite.
SC Engstrom.
They almost didn't even get third there.
It looks like here it's going to be a battle between Schumann and it was Asa Fast Berglund now. Moving our way back here to the line here. A little bit of a kick. Schumann does get Berglund. Norden here now coming on through. And to give you an idea of what the suffering is like, I mean,
it's
oh my
brutal.
goodness, that was insane. I think almost to the point of tears here for Schumann in the corner just a moment ago. I mean, that was insanity.
I originally thought it would be great to have someone right next to me racing. I felt terrible for her. As time went on, the effort Gabby is making is insane. This sport is so real. So real. Wow.
So it looks like a 10th place here for Schumann that we did just see coming on through, but that is going to be her teammate, Linda from Rose Beast Mode, coming out of Germany, now coming on through for 13th. Itkin for Aeonian there with the Aero power-up with the Tron bike here. The Norwegian rider, the early attacks here from her did pay off hugely for the Aeonian team. They may be the winners on the day. I am seeing from Tripathi, perhaps there's some bonus points over the top here with 129 points, he's saying, for finishing first through second. When I look through the point structure, though, I did see a 40, 35, and 30, but perhaps there's double or triple because it is on the Climber's Gambit. I did not see an update on that, but I appreciate the chatter coming on through. We do see it looks going to be Marb here from Beast Mode Courage coming on through, followed up by Born Shine for 16th, and Embring now also for Team SC. Roka Korba probably celebrating with Cass because of that huge win coming from Osterby, the Danish rider.
Well, what a way to start the season here. The women always put on a show. This is going to be one of, so we have thousands and thousands of people who participate in the ZRL, and my hat is off to each and every one of you. This is the first of 6 races. Obviously, the intensity here is the name of the, really, when you look back at this season, I'm sure we're going to remember that this is going to be one of the toughest days that we've seen in esports.
100%. Now let's go ahead and see if we haven't had an update just yet for the point structure. So we'll have to wait for the points to go ahead and calculate. It may take a few minutes here for them to come on through.
Before we scored the finale out there, it looked like Aeonian had the Lioness's share of points. Danielle Estrate. Actually, that's a good point, Nathan. Sitting on 46 points before the final was scored, that's more than the winner got. So she had already put herself into a very good position. I guess you'd say playing with the house's money out there.
And we are seeing Aaron J coming on through. Says, looks like the Scott is the way to go with this course. Interesting comment there, Aaron J. Well, it did look like that's what ended up going down. So nice job to those on picking up on that. I may still go with a climber today. I raced tonight with America's West. And, I don't know. With amongst the boys, with the weight that we have, I'm wondering if perhaps it's going to be, with the ladies, I think, oh my gosh, look, okay, we got to show you the damage.
This is what we need to set up the hot chocolate stand or the lemonade stand, right? But I would say the amount of time and the severity of the climb.
You don't ever see this on the mountain. Like, this is the only time you ever see this many people just hanging on the mountain like this.
Well, the funny thing is, if this were real life, you'd see everyone grabbing a jacket and turning around and going back down because you will start freezing if you wait. That's one problem that you don't have at home on your smart trainer.
Everyone is chatting.
You know
away
how quickly you
here?
would be hypothermic after that effort getting up to the top of the climb?
Well, yeah, look at all the snow around these riders as they start to log out, as you can see.
Yeah, I'm assuming that it's 40 degrees or let's call it 5 degrees Celsius up on top of the climb. Obviously, that's
Yeah, I
not,
wonder. We need to have temperature in Zwift. Why don't we have the temperature? We need to know if our
that's the
avatars are
the
freezing.
next add-on that you can buy, something that changes the temperature in your room to equate to where you are on Watopia or whatever Zwift world you're in. I would imagine that McCurry Islands would be quite hot, actually.
Yeah, and then do your avatars slow down because of that, Dave? Is that what ends up happening? Your avatars actually slow down from the from the heat out there? That'd be interesting to see. We are looking through chat a little bit here to see what everybody's having to say. Dave happens to be next to me. Dave, let's talk a little bit why you're in Wisconsin. What's happening here, because it is related in some way to Zwift.
We're doing some in real life Zwift events for Garmin that are taking place at bike shops around the country, the Mashdown Tour. So we happen to be in Nathan's neighborhood. I wanted to come check out the setup here. I'm very, very impressed and impressed with Wisconsin, to tell you the truth. I truly enjoy it here.
Yeah, it's so what bike shops? Where are we all going to be? Are we going to be
Machinery Row
Machinery Row in
is tonight.
Madison?
That's in Madison.
Gotcha.
And then Wheel and Sprocket over in Milwaukee.
In Milwaukee.
Right.
Okay, gotcha. Right on. So Wheel and Sprocket and Machinery Row if you're in the area. What nights are they?
Tonight is Machinery Row
Madison
at 7
tonight?
o'clock.
So you can, rather than heading back to Milwaukee, you're halfway there.
Yeah.
Maybe you just head straight on over to Madison right away. And then tomorrow you're going to be probably at one of the Wheel and Sprockets in Milwaukee. Cool.
Exactly.
Cool. So if you wanted to check out Dave and you're in the area, what are you guys doing? KOM
Well, actually,
challenges?
Yeah, much like we've done in the past, where we set up, it's actually the forward KOM climb, and they have a lot of great prizes. And in this case, Garmin has a tremendous community around that brand. And there's a big mountain bike race coming up here, part of the Lifetime series this weekend that I know everyone's really, really excited about. I'm going to let you pronounce it.
What's that? The Schwamagon?
Yes.
Yeah, Shaquamagon. Shaquamagon. I mean, we have a couple of different ways.
Schwamagon.
Schwamagon. Yeah.
Close enough for
government ways
word.
that we say it, but see if we can get some results in here. I think.
Okay, what's your guess? I'm going to put you on the spot because I'm going to say the Aeonian, especially based on the 3rd, 4th, and 5th. It looked like they got, or something close to that. I think Aeonian will have enough points. We'll see. Because that's the name of the game in the ZRL. It's not about individual results. It's about your team and multiple points to pick up scoring opportunities.
Yeah, we're going to have to wait for points, everybody. We'll come back a little early for the next broadcast. We are going to take a quick break here as the points do get calculated. And as they do, we'll go ahead and come back in and give everybody an update on exactly how things played out for the riders. We don't want to get anything incorrect, though. So we'll take our break. We're back at 25 after talk about the points and everything that just went down with the women's race for the women's Central EMEA. But then we have the men's West. Rhino Racing, I think, is going to be joining us with some live cams as well as a little bit of a look into who that team is. Everything for EMEA men's Div 1 West will be coming right at you. So don't go anywhere. We will see you guys all in about 20 minutes, for a little under 20 minutes for that. And stick around for more ZRL season 2022-23 round 1. Well, welcome back to the Zwift Racing League 2022-23 round one. We're in for the Climbers Gambit. I'm Nathan Guerra. Dave Towle literally sat right next to me, took a flight into Wisconsin last night because he's doing some in real life events. If you want to check those out and you're in the area of Madison or Milwaukee, Madison tonight at Machinery Row, Milwaukee tomorrow night with Wheel and Sprockets, some Zwift events that are pretty awesome. You want to go and check those out. But right now, we're about to check out the Climbers Gambit men's open division, women's open division here, EMEA West. We are in for one lap, 28 kilometers, and a fairly stacked field for EMEA West. Deepak, a leader in here. Chevy Chasers are in here. Fusion Development is in here. We've got L'Equip with stages. I mean, Mutant has shown up at the day as well. One of the teams that we are going to be focusing a little bit is Rhino Racing. That's a team that's been popping up on my radar as of recently. And you know what's interesting? SGAB, Team Electric Spirit Company, two teams that are kind of like Rhino from last season because they showed up on the radar and bam, put on some fireworks. Will Rhino do the same is a big question for me.
Welcome to a whole new era of esports racing, everybody. As Nathan's introducing this season, I really realized there are some familiar names like Fabian Davola, a former Premier League winner in this race. As the guys hit out, we are ready to go. But there's a whole new landscape that we've got out here. So today, it's a lot like starting the F1 season with the Monaco GP or maybe NASCAR with Daytona. This is the biggest, hardest race of the season that we've got to kick things off. Now, it's not the longest, but as we've learned from esports, it's about the intensity, how deep you can dig. And in the women's race that we just broadcast, there's no doubt that this course is bringing out the best in our athletes. So very quickly, 28K of racing. The sting is in the tail with 671 meters of climbing out here today. But Nathan, what I love is we've got some feature sprints coming up, or I should say opportunities to garner points coming up with the JWB Bridge Sprint, and that's the reverse direction we're coming across. Titans KOM reverse, points waiting there, and then the lion's share waiting at the finish. It is quite a day here for Climbers Gambit.
It really is, and I can just continue on with the reality of how stacked this field is. I'm seeing Wahoo Lacole have shown up. I saw Bergenski is in here, Shaylor, Tarek as well. I mean, Electric Spirit Company, a fully stacked field from them. Andy, looks like W is in here. Dan Page, Flores Weverling, it looks like Frederick Fender, Neil Biggs, Tom Jagger is also here. Team Italy has shown up in this A category. Giovanni Guelli, it's going to be Manuel Tonan, Paolo Fantino Guerra. I mean, this Tugas has shown up as well. I didn't realize how stacked this West field was until we actually sat down and got into the pens and started looking around going, wait a second, who hasn't showed up here?
Yeah, I mean, stacked is actually underselling the quality of this field. This is where we really arrived. It's the quality, the talent, the depth, and the quantity that we've got in this group. I mean, we could, for the first time ever, Nathan, in my mind, have a small group contesting the finale today. So let's talk about the points very quickly, because that's what ZRL is all about. It's a 6-race series. Now, every rider on your team has the opportunity to pick up points out here. And actually, the way things are structured now, they will pick up points. It's just how many that you'll be able to get along the way. Don't sleep on the bonus sprints. As a matter of fact, we're still kind of reviewing data, but I have a feeling that what was done early has such a huge impact on the ultimate tally of points that you have to use resources for the first sprint coming up at JWB Bridge.
Yeah, we actually saw that with the Ionian team, how important those sprint points ended up playing out at the end. At the end of that race, it looks to me like Ionian won on the day. It looks to me like they won. We're still calculating some points on what actually ended up happening at the end, but to me, it seems they won simply because they took out so many sprint points early on and stacked the front end of that field.
Yeah, and you're exactly right, Nathan, because in that race, the team that took the first two spots, that's Roca Corba, they didn't really contest in those first two bonus opportunities. So saving it all for the end might not be the plan out here. Again, we'll have to let all of the dust settle on that race. This is Climbers Gambit. This is going to be the Hunky Chasers rider that we're looking at. That's got to be another team that Karis is on. And so when we talk about the power-ups out here, equally weighted opportunity, 33 and a third % chance of having a feather, draft, or arrow. Those are the big three in the world. And look at that.
Mutant versus Deepak
Wow.
to the line. It was Davola there alongside of, I believe, the Mutant rider. We'll have to double check on the replay here in just a second. But that was an interesting sprint to watch play out here just a moment ago. And here we go. This is what it looked like here. It was going to be the Hunky Chasers there with Karis there coming across as the initial lead out, man. We'll go ahead and speed this up just a tad as we bump this up to 50% here. Now here we go. 837 watts, 197. That's the lead out here. But here comes Worthington from WLC. DePaul is there as well from Mutant. But there was a crazy fast acceleration here from the back of the pack. Who was it that was flying through? That would have been Chris B. from the Mutant team there, just trying to nip Fabian Davola, unable to do so, I believe. And I think DePaul there guns up in third behind his teammate from Mutant there just a moment ago. So it was, I believe, Fabian Davola from Deepak Elite that was able to take down that sprint. But we'll have to go to the points in just a moment here to figure that out. But that was what the camera showed to us.
Certainly sets a tone for the season. It's interesting, too, how diametrically opposed that sprint is to what's happening in the finale, and that's where you really find the Swiss Army knife of racers that are able to participate in sprints like that and in those brutal wattage per kilogram efforts that happen at the end of the race. Those riders are the ones that really you build your team around here in esports, and I would certainly put Fabian Davola as a rider squarely in that category. Well, the first real eliminations, I would think, are going to be coming up at the next sprint, next opportunity to pick up points that we have out here coming up at Titans KOM Reverse. If the women's race that we witnessed is any indicator, this group will be halved by the time they end up scoring those points up there right now. Things settling down just a little bit after that initial surge out there. And it never gets easy. You just go faster, as Greg LeMond says. And I would certainly agree with that out here today. Even though right now it might look easy, you're still sitting on about 200 watts per kilo, or 200 watts of power that you're having to make to stay up in this group.
Yeah, things will have calmed down. I wonder if we'll see something similar to what we saw in the women's race, where Roca Cobra with Colin did make a little bit of attack over the top of this little punch on the reverse KOM. Now, they're not doing the full of the reverse KOM. It will only be that first little, well, I wouldn't say so little, as it is up into that 11% gradient or so at certain points of this little kick. They do go past the gigantic cycling statues there, and as they go underneath them, they'll make a left-hand turn, though, off of the reverse KOM into a little bit of a dirt section that cuts off the rest of that climb, and they will do the reverse descent of the forward KOM of the hilly route, actually, and then head their way over to Titans Grove. But this little punch right here, it's definitely a sting. If somebody really wants to sprint it, Dave, they can cause a lot of damage at the back end of the field.
Every race is its own story, isn't it? And I wouldn't expect the men's race to play out exactly the way the women's did. But one thing is for sure, that the sprint that they have the points coming up are certainly foreboding for what you're going to be looking at. That was really where Roca Corba started into their final act at that point, and they just continued to pour it on. But take a look at this. Certainly looks like Wahoo Lacole as WLC and Griff now making a mark here on the front. It is so hard to sustain an effort like this out here, but obviously they've gone to the whip, and look at the separation that we're seeing back through that group now.
Yeah, and looking to come across here will be Bike Zone Magal Heiss trying to make the juncture. Electric Spirit Company is also there with a W. Armstrong now making their way across from Rhino, actually, and that's one of the teams that we'll be talking about today. Watch out for the purple kits of Rhino Racing. This is a team that is definitely on my radar, Dave. And, we've seen the name Rhino a lot around Zwift racing, but maybe not at this A level in the past, which is really interesting to see that suddenly now Rhino making this splash at the top level.
Yeah, this is the process that is so fun to watch as teams begin their ascension up the ranks. It's a quantum leap. Going from D's to C's is tough. Certainly C's to B's is a reality check, but going from B's to A's, that is the biggest jump of all. Not everyone survives that jump. It's sort of like going from your space shuttle to the astronaut pod or something. It's a big journey there. Might not seem that far, but it's a quantum leap, as we say. And I have to say, Rhinos have had the courage to make that jump, and here they are holding their own in the highest level of A racing that we've ever seen on Zwift. Racing has really gone up a notch, hasn't it?
Oh, it definitely has. And as you can see here with Welch and the rest of the Rhino Racing crew, they've made this front pack. Has there been much of a drop-off at this point? I do see 3 seconds back here with Roan from Mutant, the Norwegian rider. But outside of that, we still have a pretty intact group. There is some chasers, though. Phillips now trying to get back on terms. Bond is there from WLC, fellow, as well as Van Rook, the rider out of the Netherlands. So it has split up. 73 starters I'm seeing in the upper right-hand corner here. So there has been a couple of splits after those initial kicks. And, when it comes to finishing out here, though, today, that's one of the coolest things about the Zwift Racing League with WTRL is the point structure, Dave. Everybody gets some points here for the team. So getting across the line is important. Even back to 84th place, there's not 84 riders, but you would still get 1 point for the team, even back to that point, to that 84th place, if you did finish on the day.
That's part of the ethos of WTRL, to tell you the truth, is keeping everyone involved, giving everyone a reason to keep racing, not just pedal it on in. And it has been truly, that's the secret sauce out here. Look at these guys at the back now, just getting strung out a little bit, but the struggle is real. No question that these guys are going to try to fight their way back in, because there's going to be an opportunity to contest for points coming up. Even if you know that you're not going to be useful on that last climb out here, you might have an opportunity to sneak a couple extra points for your team that'll make a difference. I'd really like to welcome everyone back. It's so awesome to have the ZRL back underway and really thriving right now as we are into our 7th season, but really this is the first of this modern era that we'll call 22-23 underway here. And boy, did we just pick a doozy to get things started with here on Climbers Gambit. So our men, 8.3K in, a little under 20K to go, but Sting is in the tail today, no doubt about it. But we're going to be keeping a close eye on things as our next sprint comes up, or next points really coming up, as it's more of a KOM in this case, coming up at Titans Grove.
Yeah, and as we do see Titans Grove here making these little bit of undulations now, this is the section as they head through the springs. They would be taking on Fuego Flats if they didn't take that right-hand turn. If you're not familiar with the update to the game, look at it as they round these corners. There's always a really interesting section, of course, whenever I race this section, Dave. The little bumps here, you start kind of getting a little anxious, like, okay, what's happening here? But then you kind of realize you can settle into these initial bumps. When you're going through these springs, there's not quite enough kick in these to really make you have to suffer. It does look like, though, at the back here, WLC may be taking it too easy. I don't think they're suffering. I think they're just saying, oh, I can maybe try and... Well, that's really smart. Look at how he pulled into the group there, though. He might have just been reserving energy and just carrying speed through. And you can really reserve a lot by being smart here and not pushing, because you're not going to gain a lot of advantage here. It's later on in these rollers when it gets a little sharper into these Titans that it really matters.
Yeah, and one of the techniques here is, if you've got a really strong team with role players, is trying to put the other climbers under pressure earlier in the race so that they don't have the same pop on the climb as later. But that's not the case here, as everybody's going to be a little bit conservative right now, making their way through the first third of the race here.
The speeds are so high. Trying to find the camera angle here, Dave. They're just absolutely flying 45, 45. And this is uphill. This is into the uphills, 45 kilometers per hour. So on these downhills, they are absolutely starting to ramp things up. And you know what that's for, Dave? Positioning. I've been out of position the last couple of weeks. I've been really learning about position, doing the Wednesday Worlds races on Wednesdays and making sure I'm in the right spot amongst these crowds, amongst these elite riders in Zwift racing. If you mix that positioning up, those last couple of little kicks, those last little seconds, man, you can lose so many meters, and it's the difference between a win and 10th place.
The classic term is putting yourself behind the 8 ball, and you don't want to do that. And every time that you get caught on the wrong side of a split, that's exactly what's happened there. You're burning matches trying to get across. And certainly the smart riders, you see that in real life as well, just always seem to have a sense for where to be at the right time and doing the minimum amount of work to always be in the right group. Look at this attack. That's going to be Electric Spirit Co. that we're looking at, the orange and white team, another team that's ascended through the ranks quite quickly here to be a cornerstone squad that we've got going on. And I see Veritas now. I believe, Nathan, that Portugal in the last year has seen some incredible growth in esports racing. There's at least a dozen Portuguese riders in this field.
We're actually looking at Dan Welch in the lower left-hand corner from the Rhinos here at this point, absolutely hammering. We'll see if we can get a live look at his avatar as well. But this is the situation for Dan as he looks to be pushing. Look, he's got I love the communication device he's got there. Giving us a thumbs up as he makes his way through Titans Grove. Great to see. And the Rhinos here, he's giving us oh man, he's suffering no-go at this point. But love it. Look at it. Yeah, he's saying, no, this ain't easy. This ain't easy. He's letting us know this ain't easy. And as we get into the climb and the real suffering, we'll be bringing in one of the founders, actually, of the Rhino Racing team, actually. And we'll see if in just a moment it's going to be Jonathan Bishop, actually. He'll be in with us. Once we actually get into the meat and potatoes of that climb, it's just going to be nothing but heavy breathing most likely as he's DSing the team out there. So, and as we get through for Rhino, we'll see how they can compete out here today. But it's great to see their new representation as well as that kit in game. It's a good-looking kit, Dave.
Yeah, and it's been a fun team to follow along with. It'll be great to learn more about them and what they're about. And that's something the riders behind the avatars that it's been really great having a chance to get to know these athletes. You know what team looks great today is Electric Spirit Co. right near the front with most of their squad, but not on the front. And I have to say, the Italian teams, they certainly were impressive in Premier League, and Team Italy is back. Certainly going to be watching for them. There's one of our Rhinos, Welch, sitting right up in the front group as well.
Yeah, and it looks like he's well positioned. We'll see if he can take on this sprint, actually. We'll see if we can get if he's going to be in a good position here. We'll bring the camera back in and get an idea of how things play out when it comes to the in real life look of him as well. Welch here. There's so many riders here. Trying to find the right rider to be on here can be so incredibly difficult. But here he is. This is going to be our man. And looking to try and set up, it looks like, for the sprint here at this point. Now Welch coming out of the UK, 166, 400. Now Watts, here we go. As it starts to line up, the Rhinos, what are they going to be able to make happen? 9.88 watts per kilogram now as it's up and over the top. But is it a little bit too early? That's going to be the question, Dave.
This is bananas, no doubt about it. So taking a look at a real mix of squads here as well. No one team completely dominating. I thought we'd see a lot more Electric Spirit Company up on the front. That's going to be one of the Italian riders. As this is continuing at 4% uphill. The burn has got to be intense in the legs there. So we talked about the feather, the draft, and the arrow power-ups that are used. These drafting and some arrows. I think the arrow is going to be the most advantageous one, the grade that they're on right now.
Yeah, and here comes now the draft being used there by Welch. Welch fading maybe perhaps a little bit, or is this just going to be a wait for the final kick to the line? We'll swap our look at the avatars, but we've got the in-runner live cam here coming on through from the rider from... No, Welch actually goes over the top. There it is. 12 watts per kilogram. He's got the kick. Will Rhino Racer make it happen with the live cam on stream here? The show is on for Rhino holding on. Jones trying to come over the top. He's got the drafting power up.
What a drag race.
To the line. Welch hanging on. And no, it's going to be Jones. It looks like it. Here comes Davola. Look at the speed from Davola, but not going to be able to do it. It was Welch versus Jones. Davola to the line there as well for third. And Morgan from Deepak coming in for fourth. Deepak really making it happen here today. The suffering on the face of Dan Welch says it all, Dave.
Yeah, Deepak will have the alarm bells ringing as well. Got to give Mr. Welch credit, though. Talk about digging deep. deep. He was scraping the bottom of the barrel out there like a champ. But now we're going to see how many riders survive that last surge. They're coming through the middle part of the race right now.
Wow, there's a huge split, Dave. Look at, huge split. Is it going to hang on or not is going to be the question.
Hard to say.
Very hard to say. Real quickly, before the points update, I do want to say this was at the JW Bridge. These points are from the JW Bridge. Browell, Davola, Morgan, Anderson. It's Bowman as well is there. It's going to be DePaul, Worthington, Olsen, Van Erck, and Weekly. This is where things sat after the JW Bridge. They'll be updating in just a moment with what just happened in Titans Grove. So this is how things sat across the sprint. Now we're going to get a look at that quick little puncher that's going to get added into these segment points.
Another unique feature of ZRL is the FTS, the fastest through segments. If you're joining us this season for the first time, you might wonder what that is all about. Well, it's a timed segment that is, so it'll correspond with the sprint, but not exactly. Typically, the riders who score the highest in the sprint are up there in the FTS, but really, it's that rider that just times it perfectly, is able to surf through the group and hit the sprint at the end, will get your fastest through segment. Those points are incredibly valuable, and that's really the name of the game here in ZRL, is not only the first across the line, that's the FAL, but the FTS points. You combine those together, and what we've learned out here today, at least in this structure, and every day is different, there's one team time trial this season. That'll be taking place in the third week of racing. But one thing's for sure, every point matters, and the bonus points, if you sleep on those, oftentimes you run out of road at the end of the race to pick up enough points to actually win the day. And each week, we end up moving our point structure into a top tally of the teams based on how all of their individual riders scored. So it's tiered until we finally get to the end of 6 races that make up this season, and then the team with the most individual day win. Well, the top team wins.
All right, let's take a quick look. Speaking of top teams, you saw it just throw down in front of you just a moment ago. It was the Davola and Jones right there. That was going to be first and third. Davola actually didn't take first across the line. Jones took first across the line ahead of Welch. As you can see, Welch there with that FTS at 10, so he got the full points, and 9 there for second for first across the line, 10 there as you can see for FTS. So interesting to see how these point structures are working out now, as Davola, Jones, and Browell are going to be your top 3 so far. But Morgan is in there for the DPAC Elite. Jones is DPAC Elite. Davola is DPAC Elite. So they've really stacked the field here when it comes to their points so far. Now we're looking forward to the climb, Dave. It's going to be a question whether or not they have the kick and the climb.
Well, I certainly look at, so that's a great example of Fabian Davola there, though, with he was the fastest through the segment, but he wasn't the winner of that sprint. But being in the mix there puts him at the top, and I expect him to gather a lot of points at the finish line as well.
Speaking of Davola, what is he doing? He's attacking.
He can back this up. I mean, this is a very dangerous rider here. Now, interesting move, attacking on the downhill, but the deep team.
Okay, so Dave, this is interesting. Does he go up the road here and force? I mean, no one's going to chase him at this point, I think.
Well, this is a dangerous game. This is really some great, the mental aspect of esports. So without a doubt, he comes in as the marked rider in this field. He's got tremendous experience through the last couple of years. Very respected esports racer when you look at the Belgian. Now, Fabian here is opening up a
4 seconds
all things
now.
Considered, that's a huge gap for a solo rider at this point, Nathan. I certainly would have expected this. I would have thought he would have laid back and sat back and waited for the climb, but he's going to take it right to him. Very aggressive.
Now at 3.4, 2.7. Is he going to continue, I wonder? Now 7.8. Yeah, he is. He is continuing. They bring it back to 2 seconds, though. Is it worth it? Starts getting into your head, though, Dave.
I don't know if it is. This is not a test attack. That's for sure. This is real, but
yeah,
this is the problem. There's so many strong guys.
They're just swarming. They're swarming the speed at the front here. It's 49 kilometers per hour, 47. I mean, he really has to set this up well. He goes back out now. 53, 54. Now, the question is whether or not he can hold on to that kind of speed and that kind of time, though, on this next right-hand turn. Because this next right-hand turn, Dave, it goes down for a solid half K or so, and that whole pack is just going to be flying downhill.
At that point, they'll be moving 8, 10 kilometers per hour faster than while he's continuing to work. That mass will just pull them. So, I mean, this is a talented racer, a very bright racer as well. But I don't know what happened there, to tell you the truth. I don't know that was his best play.
No, and it was a cool move. I liked it. But the reality, I think, of the speed of this group and what it can pull off with this right here, I think it was just a little bit underestimated. I don't think that it was necessarily, that was not the smartest move. I think it would have been a smart move if the estimation was correct. But I think they just kind of underestimated the kind of speed that this group specifically would pull through that section.
Or maybe he underestimated it. Well, the thing was, they didn't go into full chase mode there. They just kept doing what they were doing in the peloton. So it wasn't like they over or underestimated Fabian Davola. They just let the game play back in the peloton. And I think really that was a lesson in physics, how hard it is for a solo rider to hold off a peloton in real life or on Zwift. And again, in real life, you maybe see a test attack to see what other teams, who's feeling good, who's going to cover. In this case, we didn't learn anything from it. The test attack didn't have any real value.
We didn't learn anything. The teacher, sorry, not going to be
it's a wash. We
at
walk
this
away.
point. Yep, 100% here.
With
at this
one
point,
dead match.
Now, from here to the bottom of the climb here, Dave, I mean, really, we did see Roca Corba throw a couple of riders in the women's race off the front. Do you think we'll see something similar in the men's race? I mean, I once it flattens out completely, at that point, once it flattens out completely, and then you're looking at just the climb. It isn't like there's any more downhill for that snowball effect, right? So you could think, okay, I think I have a better 30-minute, so I'm going, rather than I have a better 15-minute over the climb, right? Like, give it a go now.
So if you really believe in yourself, you want to commit and go all in on it, it's not a bad time to do that. The drafting effect goes down significantly when you're on a steep climb. So the benefit of working in an 8 to 10 rider group, which most likely would be chasing you, isn't as significant. It really comes down to pace setting, rhythm, and your ability to suffer, to tell you the truth. So we talked about this during the women's race, but if you're a pure climber, these opportunities come along very rarely. And why not go all in on it, especially if you're feeling motivated, if you've got the good legs. But you're going to have to remember there's probably 10 other guys that feel like they're in the same boat as you are out here. So if you're going to make a commitment, you got to go all in on it. Fabian Davola is one guy that can come back from that attack and still show us some old school fury out here.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think if you did give it a go here, the only thing I'm thinking is that they might let the rope go. They might let a little bit of slack out there and say, look, we're going to bring this back. We're saving it for the climb. And when the climb hits, that's when these watts per kilogram will matter. Let somebody go if they're going to make a move right now. I'm not seeing anybody making any moves, so maybe it's something that's not even going to be an issue here. But out of this little bump, out of Ocean Boulevard, we do have a 3% gradient for a solid 15 seconds. Then it gets into some dirt right away, where there's always a little bit of separation that can be gained. And then it's a left-hand turn right into the climb. There is an opportunity here to grab something early on if they wanted to.
I've always felt like the dirt sectors, Nathan, they do more damage to the riders at the back of the group than it does benefit the riders at the front of the group. It's just if you're on the ropes and in trouble, that dirt road is usually the straw that breaks the camel's back out there. Whereas it's not enough of a launch pad, but I think we're going to see Wahoo. There you go. There is a rider attacking now.
Olsen from Mutant. It's going to be Olsen from Mutant.
Mutant is really coming on strong, aren't they? I have to say, watch out for Mutant. So Olsen's going to take it to him as we go down under, let's call it 7.5K of racing here with a significant amount of climbing to come.
Armstrong comes across, it looks like here as well. Going to be from that Rhino Racing in the dark purple, light purple kit. Tarek there from WLC covering it. Now we're going to hit the dirt. It's going to be a left-hand turn in just a moment here into the final run into the climb. There goes AW over the top here from Electric Spirit Company as the Austrian rider sits in now again, and now a reshuffle it looks like with Deepak Elite with McKee just sitting at the back.
There's an event called the Taiwan KOM. This is going to be somewhat similar. You have to make this group, and now this really should be the CRL Climbing Championship, the KOM or the QOM, that what we have here.
Yeah, I mean this climb. This is actually, from my opinion, when it comes to racing, Dave, this one is just it's the perfect, because it's not 20 minutes. Right? It's that 13 to 15, 16 minutes. So it's just over your VO2 limits. It's just under when you get into threshold. It's just this horrible time that it's like doesn't quite do the exercise system any favors at all.
I mean, if you think about it, for an endurance athlete, you probably don't dig any deeper than you do in that duration. And then the other factor is you're going to go that five's a big number, 2% harder when you're with the top riders in your colleague pool out here. It always brings out that little bit more in you when you're getting pushed like that. It looks like another attack from Mutant here.
Olsen, again, he just continues to want to make things happen early here. He's on that.
Is that
Tron.
setting up a teammate trying to, or is this just
I wouldn't be surprised,
strong?
actually. I mean, Mutant definitely show up with, they're always in chat. They're always hanging out, chatting away, talking about what is going to be the tactic. Here we go, though. It's going to be Tony.
That's Italy.
Here now, coming from the team Italy now on the front. A little bit of a kick coming from him. It
Mamma
looks
mia.
like now, Team Italy showing up here. Electric Spirit Company with AW looking to come across. This is the situation now. The initial kicks, we saw Schumann do this in the last race. She did end up in 10th place overall. So will that be a repeat, or will somebody be able to go from bottom to top, Dave?
Yeah, I don't know, but this is going to be absolutely the moment that we find out who the top men are in the CRL. So it's going to be now another surge coming. The Italians are there. This is, oh, wow. Look how many guys are holding on here. That peloton is stretched out to, let's call it 100 meters long. But at the front, the snake's head right now, it is going to be absolute mayhem going on. Now, Armstrong is there. Tonon there. Fabian Davola is still hanging on. Electric Spirit Company's got to be happy. They've got a few orange jerseys up in this front group. Oh, boy, Nathan. This is bike racing at its very, very best here.
Now, the question is, will it be too much too early? But because it isn't single riders off the front like we saw in the women's race, they will be able to sit in. They will be able to work together. They will be able to get a little reprieve, even sitting in at this 8% gradient. There is some rest to be had. If you look at the watts per kilogram or those at the back of this group, it's 4, 5, 6
it's
watts
reasonable.
per kilogram, 7 at the front. You can sit in a little bit on this.
Daniel Casada is going to be a rider to watch on the Veritas team, the brilliant climber out of Portugal. Boy, this is the calm before the storm. No doubt about it. They're at about 5.5K of climbing left. Now, on this climb, there are a couple little dips down that you see along the way. It's really actually not beneficial. You don't recover in that short dip. It just throws your rhythm off a little bit. I would say it just makes it that much more challenging mentally. Deepak all over the front. We're back in with Worthington. He's a Wahoo Lacole rider. This is a legitimate peloton with riders like Kirkmeyer rider there coming right back up into the group. So it's definitely defensive mode right now up in the vanguard of the race.
This section of the course is so difficult, Dave. This right here, when the fireworks throw down and you hit this 3% false flat, in quotes, I would put that in quotes, false flat. This is when the speeds pick up, and if you don't hang on and you can't throw down just enough to hang on, boom, the gaps just go. And that's what you see behind us here now. 3 seconds there from a racing here from Rhino. Then we see Rasmussen as well. 3 seconds trying to get back on turns, but they got to do so much more. And look at the roll-in speed. Look at the rolling speed into this next section of climb, and now this is where the lights go out if you are not on board.
Well, that's a great term, when the lights go out, because really what you want to do is use your dimmer on the pane switch right now and just set it to dull roar and realize it's going to be there for a while, and just accept that, because this is going to really, really hurt right now, and that's it. They're firing now. It's this. Taking a look here, attacks are coming left, right, and center. This is your OSS moment. Only the strong survive. You're not going to win the bike race in the next 500 meters, but this is where you've got to bear down on it and hold on to this group.
Just showing a quick picture here of Dan Welch and what it looks like for that 165 beats per minute. Do you think, what's happening here? Is Dan suffering to hang on at 166 beats per minute, right? Like we can see.
He's got a naturally low heart rate.
Yeah, perhaps that's what's going on there, is that it's a naturally low, or is he saving something? I mean, it's a long climb. He's got a lot of climbing left in front of him here, and just set his own tempo. Don't try and hang on with that group.
He certainly seems to be pacing himself well. And I'll give him a ton of credit for that. Let's see how many riders he can pick off now as he's holding on to this group. That's not a bad job at all.
But look who's going off the front now at this point. Now the fire is Veritas. Yeah. Not Morgan, Deepak, Armstrong. Also, though, Rhino Racing is still involved here. 7 watts per kilogram coming from them here at this point here. We see Davola sitting in, so it looks like it's going to be 4 up here. Electric Spirit Company, Deepak with 2 sitting in, and Rhino Racing with Armstrong. Matthew Armstrong has made this group.
Wow. I mean, and you take a look here at the numbers. They are stratospheric. This is one of those little dips that we were talking about. Just a moment to regroup here. Let's take a look at everybody sitting up in the front group. That's Calceda that I was talking about early. The Veritas runner, Fabian Davola is there, mentioning Armstrong. Tremendous day for Armstrong. Electric Spirit Co. Do they have 2 up here? A-Dub is there. Jones also there for Deepak Elite. Magalhães is the Portuguese rider, one of 2 Portuguese riders up in the front group, but it is Daniel Calceda setting the tempo now. So this is going to maybe put some riders into a spot of bother, as they are just one by one punching tickets at the back of this group.
Well, it looks like this would be a perfect time to bring in our guest actually on the day, Jonathan Bishop here from Rhino Racing. He's even got the kit on. Jonathan, he's got a Rhino Racing kit. Great to see. Dan is underneath us. He's hammering it out. Currently a top 20 rider in this race at the moment. You can see in the lower right hand of your screen as well there the reality of the race at this point as the attacks continue, and Deepak are putting it to you out here. But your man, Matthew Armstrong, it looks like, Jonathan, has made this front group.
Yeah, he's putting out a solid attack at the moment. At the end of the day, this kind of climb is about actually, not blowing yourself up. It's about, setting your tempo, just like Dan's doing, setting your tempo within your power and your limits, and actually holding on, and then, using the moments to actually go for the attack. So, there's more to come for the climb. So, it's going to be a good finish, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it will be a great finish here. Dave, do you got him in your ears now? Can't hear? Okay, so we'll work on that. Apologies on that. But Jonathan, quickly, just wanted a little bit of history, like as Rhino Racing jumping into the A categories, because it hasn't always been an A category team from what I remember, and suddenly I'm noticing this right now.
No, we started back in August 2020. We started with 12 riders. 12 people that wanted to effectively race out their skin. And we've built the team up from 12 to 400 plus now. Racing in D, B, C, and A. And the guys and girls, race 5 or 6 days a week, and really enjoy what they're doing with us. We do outside events, we do TTT, so we just enjoy virtual racing.
Hey, I'm on board now here. We enjoy watching you guys race. How did you choose the Rhino as your team name?
We used to ride for another team, and that we always used to ride under Animals, and it was Rhino that we raced and TTT under Platinum League, and then when we broke away and did what we wanted to do, we decided to use Rhino Racing as the purest simple form, and now we've got 17 teams in the ZRL currently this season. And we tend to put out between 12 and 14 teams in the TTT. So it is
the TTT then. It is that was what we were wondering about. Is this the same very well-known TTT team? Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. We started back in August 2020 with 2 6-man TTT teams or 6-person TTT teams. That's how we started, and we built it up over the last 2 years to 400 members.
So, hey, I'm guessing at this point in the race, I assume you're directing today. Is that right?
Yeah.
So at this point now,
Yeah.
directing moves from maybe information mode to encouragement mode, because there's not too much you can do when they're on the climb, or am I wrong?
No, absolutely. The hard work's done. Obviously with the ZRL, it's important to get the FAL and the FTS as much as you can, because those help for the GC points and your overall standing. But now they're in their own zone. It's about tempo setting, and holding what they can hold, and getting the best result for the GC now.
How much have you seen the tactical knowledge grow in your time? Because it's interesting when you see one team develop a technique, how quickly other teams adapt and respond. It's part of what makes this racing so brilliant. Have you felt like we've been on a steep learning curve with the directing and racing in esports?
Absolutely. Esports and virtual racing is all about tactics. It's about knowing when to sprint, knowing when to attack, know when you can brake. All these things are key factors. And if you don't employ those key factors, you're not going to win races. So it's about knowing how, when, and where to do certain things in an e-race.
My last question then, as we're just getting into the finale here, a couple K to go. How important is it to understand the abilities, strength, weaknesses of your competitors out there versus just racing your own race and doing what you do? So how much, I guess the real question is, how important is it to know who you're racing against?
Very important, because at the end of the day, if you want to win races, we try and put teams out for sixes who are clippers, sprinters, etc., good 20-minute power people. So you've got to build a team for ZRL that is suited to try and maximise points on the primes and into GC. Because if you don't do that, if you don't actually look at your competition, what the race is, what the course is, again, you're not going to win races.
Is Matthew Armstrong going to win this race?
Matthew's, him and Morgan are going head to head, and they have dropped Fabian Davola at this point.
Yeah, they're killing it. But
I would say he's got a good sprint. At the moment I wouldn't say he's sitting back, but he's reserving some energy, and wait for that finish, because it could be pretty electric.
Yeah, Morgan versus Morgan's got a kick too. So Morgan versus this is a good one. This is a real good one. Jonathan.
The cat and mouse play is going to start very soon.
Yeah, gotcha. Well,
2-up sprint on top of the mountain, huh?
Yeah, it's going to be so good. This is going to be great. We'll talk to you maybe a little bit after, Jonathan. Thanks so much for the insight, and make sure to tell Dan thank you so much for the suffer cam. Maybe we'll get a little bit of action. We'll get a little bit of a chatter from him as well. But here we go. It's going to be Armstrong on the attack now, and there's the feather power up. Morgan looking to respond. He's trying to break him early here, Dave.
Well, this man is turning himself inside out right now. You've got to love that feather power up. He hits that perfectly played right at the steepest part of the climb, but he's fighting back. Morgan is not done. So Morgan fighting back up onto that wheel. This is going to be a battle royale, no doubt about it. I don't know who would want to fight against a rhino, but clearly Morgan's going to take his chances here. They have now locked horns as we've got two riders coming into the final few 100 meters. What a way to start ZRL Season 1. It is on like Donkey Kong.
6.4 watts per kilogram. Armstrong continues on trying to break Morgan, and he might have done it. It's back out. This is that second attack here, Dave. And if we take a look, it's 8 meters, 9 meters, 10 meters. Continues to go out. Armstrong on the kick. It looks like as Matthew Armstrong looks to come over this top with a gap. It's broken Morgan now at this point. I thought perhaps it was too much. And he goes out to 198 beats per minute, Dave. Wow. This is insanity. When I saw him at 192 and Jonathan, the race director or their DS had said, hey, No, he's got something more to work with. I said, what more could he have to work with at 192 beats per minute? He's almost at 200.
That is insane. Ladies and gentlemen, meet the new star of esports racing with a breakthrough performance out here today. Gotta give Ed Morgan credit, but he went up against a monster as Matthew Armstrong is going to punch his ticket with a race 1 win here on Climbers Gambit. When this one is done and dusted, this guy is going to walk away as the platinum standard. What an exclamation point. Now, Nathan, that's your finish line. This is now history being made. A rhino in the snow on top of a mountain finding success. Who would have ever written that storyline? Ed Morgan, you're my hero. The Deepak rider will take second. His teammate taking third. That tells me that Deepak, with the work of Fabian Davola and Morgan, should be our top team out here today. We'll see if that ends up playing out that way. We got a lot of points to still score, but certainly looks like a good day for Deepak as well.
Looks like Deepak may take this one down, I would think, with the points that they were able to grab early on, but the Rhinos take it for first across the line. Solid. Great to see Morgan throw down a little good game, GG, sportsmanlike. Totally awesome to see, and really cool on the Deepak team and the way they're able to show up, and not only on the podium, but in character. Now here comes AW across the line for Electric Spirit Co. We said that they'd be a part of this race. We saw them line up, and we thought so, and there is the orange and white making their final kick for fourth place across the line. Virtus! It's going to be the truth, the team of truth. It's going to be Calcutta. Now, coming out of Portugal, making their move. Now, Chris B from Mutant, the first one across the line for the team in green. Butler, now it looks like, and here we go. It's going to be the Chevy Chasers battling it out between each other because it's Birkinshaw and his teammate Butler going to get the better of them. WLC, their first rider, is going to be Griff, being chased by Ben Jones.
Chevy Chasers might take name of the season. A good opening play there. It's a new team name to me. Anyway.
Sponsored by National Lampoons.
This is a name we're going to hear more about. Griff out here. El Griff on Wahoo Lacole. Very strong program.
Yeah, and there I'm seeing, whoa, Jones saved it just a little late. Not going to be able to take that down. 11th place going to be Tony. It's going to be a little bit of a kick here from Magalhães as he's going to come on through out of Portugal over the top. Nice little kick from him, and he's going to get the better of Team Italy here at this point. Maya there as well. Worthington and him battling it out. Ader from WLC. Shaylor is there, and Tarek also from WLC.
You might think, if you're not familiar with the point structure, that seems like a lot of effort for a 12th or 14th place sprint, but it's actually the name of the game here, is these points are the difference makers by the time they're done tallying out here. So they've got out the abacus right now. They're working on taking a look at our top team. But
these times,
look
Dave.
at these times. Wow.
That's insane. There's a DBR rider that did a 12:38.
That was not this race.
That was not a part of this race. No, it might have. Right. It was probably a race though that went off earlier today in EMEA. We'll have to see who that was and what all went down there.
And
but
that's almost 20 seconds faster than we just watched Matthew do here, and Matthew was pinning it up the climb. That's interesting. So Rasmussen finishing up here for the Fusion team as the points score all the way down to the final riders. They do group them. When you get down to 11th to 15th place, all those riders will score 20 points. 16th to 20th will get 19. But the lion's share of the points here going to the top 10, 40 for the winner, 35 for second, 30 for third, and then it descends by 1 point per placing down over the next 10 spots. So that explains these huge efforts being made out here for points. Is
Magno versus the Rhino. Rhino to the line. And it looks like the Rhino's going to get the better of it there. And that'll be your top 30 across the line. Nice to see. Let's see if we can get a little chatter from the rest of the Rhino crew here. And before we say goodbye for the broadcast and try and get maybe some final segment points and final point structures to figure out exactly what went down for the entirety of the first race here for once they're all said and done. But what a race out there. I'm going to see if Dan can hear us. Dan, I'm just going to double check your audio if you can speak at this point.
Yeah, I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we've got you, Dan. We've got you. That looked like quite the effort. Great job over the top of the Titans Grove reverse sprint. Was that a part of the plan rather than going for the actual climb or anything early on?
Yeah, that's probably my strength. So was eyeing that one up, but I wasn't expecting it to go that hard. So happy with second. A little bit disappointed on the line, but that's as much as I could give there.
Hey, so when you look at your teammate today, obviously you know these guys, but Matthew had one heck of a ride. Are you as impressed as we were, or was this just another day for Matthew?
Whoa, that guy is so strong, but even I didn't see that coming. So what an effort. Congratulations to Matthew. That's just insane power.
So we talked during the broadcast about how it's a team sport. Every rider matters. Talk to me about how it feels when you see him getting those points, knowing that you played your role earlier in the race.
Yeah, it's amazing for the team, and I think, well, you alluded to it earlier, the Rhinos have just been helping each other on, so lots of us were C's, then we went into B's, now into A's, so that performance will help all of us because we all aspire to be that good.
Did you yourself race as a C, then a B, then an A? I guess kind of have to if you're here now. But what was your background to get to this point?
Yeah, I raced with Jonathan in the B's for a long time, and then this year, start of the year, I made that jump to A that you mentioned, and it was really difficult for a few weeks, but it brings you along, and I keep getting a bit stronger every time. So I don't know where the limit is. I'm not sure it's the same as Andrew, but we'll see.
I have a quick question about to Jonathan. Are all of these? How many teams are you managing right now live, and how many DSs are there live for Rhino Racing right now? Like at this moment.
We've got 17 teams
sure.
in.
Hold on. Hold on 1 sec. Hold on 1 sec, Dan. I got to make sure you guys are across each other. My bad on the audio, so you guys don't know that each other are talking. There we go. You're on different buses. My bad. So go ahead, Jonathan. Jonathan.
We've got 17 teams in ZRL, and obviously with the scratch races, it's important to have a DS. So we try and make sure that, you know, if we've got a spare rider or two, we have DSs for these scratch races because, you know, you need to target the primes. You need to, you know, the guys need to know as a proper race where they are, who the strong riders are around them, what's coming up, where they can attack, things like that. And this information is valuable. So, you know, especially our top teams, we try and have a DS on all the time.
Well, they always say that if you really understand something, that that's the threshold to being able to teach it or not. Having all of your riders spending some time directing has got to help them as racers.
Absolutely. You know, anyone that wants to get involved in the DSing and helping the crew, whether it's a TTT or whether it's a scratch race, we always encourage it because, you know, it helps them to develop and understand how, you know, to get the best out of the racers, to encourage them, to motivate them, to keep them going. You know, today is probably one of the tough starting races for ZRL, and it's difficult, you know. And, you know, like you were saying earlier on your earlier stream, when you see riders, they are actually literally virtually stood still on a 10 or 11% climb. It's tough. It's a tough race. So having somebody in the background there, giving the guys motivation, you know, telling them to keep them going, you know, it does help. It does help.
So they say going from strength to strength. Well, success brings more success. How stoked are you to see the team ride like this here in the beginning of this series?
Dave, this is a great point because Rhino are just hitting the scene at this top level. To be honest, I haven't seen you guys at this top level yet.
It's like you showed up at your first party and people were laughing at your jokes and everything, right?
Like, wait, what just happened?
What a debut!
You know, listen. When we started with 12 riders, we're all C&D riders, and we've gone from, you know, C&D riders to inviting, you know, strong Bs, As. So, you know, we've built up this community that's all inclusive, and it's basically filled with people that just love racing and e-racing. So, you know, yeah, stoked that Matthew solid job today. The team did a great performance. We've had some great results. We I'm looking at the standings in ERL at the moment, and we're sitting in first in a lot of the leagues, which fills me with a lot of happiness because it's what we wanted. When we set this team up, we wanted to race hard and give it everything. And the guys and the girls that race for us, they're doing that every time.
My final point here will be, so when you look at it now, a team like Rhino, and you have this success, when you look forward, it's not sustainable unless you still support the B's and the C's and the D riders. I look at Aeonian, Nathan, to tell you the truth. The reason Aeonian is still dominating on the women's side of things is because they never abandoned their feeder programs. I have to think that mindset is what Rhinos are all about, because I'll be honest with you, and this is a huge compliment in my opinion, I think you're really replicating what those women did by building it. Like, you didn't build the pyramid by putting the top stone in first and then putting in the bottom stones. You have to start at the bottom with that foundation. It looks like Rhino built that foundation. You should be proud of that.
Yeah, we have. At the end of the day, we place as much importance as a D-Cat race to an A-Cat race. They're all the same to us because it's people racing at their ability at that time. So, the same amount of preparation, the same amount of thought and effort is put into a D race than an A+ race or whatever. So, again, we want our racers to improve, enjoy, get fitter, and get something out of what we do, and we facilitate that, journey going forward.
Absolutely awesome. Last question for me. I wanted to point this at Dan. Next week, park perimeter loop, a little bit more sprinty, a little bit more kicks, and then the TTT. What are you looking forward to the most over the next 2 weeks for those who are watching? A lot of people watch the broadcast to see what the A's are doing, see what's working, see what's not working. What are your thoughts over the next two races? Have you even looked forward to the next two races? I know for me, I'm jumping in and I'm like, last night I'm looking around, okay, what bike, da-da-da-da-da. Like, have you thought about what this season is bringing for you and where you might shine and what you're excited about?
Yeah, I think the next thing for a lot of us is Thursday and the TTT, so there'll be lots of chat about that, I'm sure, and tactics and thoughts. And then one of the great things about the Rhinos is come Sunday night, Monday, we'll do a recon of next week's course. We'll start thinking about the tactics, what our strengths are, and that's part of the fun, right? So not just race, but what are the build-up with the guys as well. So yeah, lots to look forward to.
That's so awesome that the team gets together like that and works all together on the racing. Really cool.
Yeah,
Jonathan,
keep it up.
and Dan, really great to have you. Congratulations on the first across the line. A great showing in your first ZRL. We really appreciate you guys taking the time with us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Go find Rhino Racing, everybody. They've got places over on the socials. They've got Zwift Power profile. Go find them. Check them out. And it was great to have them on board with us today. Rhino Racing. They've been a huge part of the TTT, haven't they, Dave?
Yeah, I really think that I want to be a Rhino now. Maybe they got another spot on the D team, but no, the spirit of esports is right there. Having comrades that you get to race with, that sharing information and a few laughs as well. Great job to the Rhinos. Keep it up.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome to see them today, and awesome to everybody out there today in all of the racing. Aeonian, what we saw them do at the beginning of the day, and then we saw with Roca-Coba, taking things down with Osterby. Rose Beast Mode obviously showing up again and doing what they do. Then we just saw the likes of the men's race with Team Mutant, SGAB showing up today. We saw Veritas again. Rhino obviously smashing it with WOC and D-Pack there right on the heels. Huge racing across the board. There's lots of other ZRL going on. If you haven't done so already, I don't know why you haven't, but you had to head over to twitch.tv/Zwift, or the game category for the Zwift, not /Zwift, but there's a game category for Zwift over there. Go look it up, because there's going to be streamers streaming across the board for that game right now over on Twitch. If you want to catch everybody else's stream, their own personal race perspective, head on over to twitch.tv, search up Zwift, find the game, and you will see a ton of people streaming their ZRL all day long today. Huge supporters of what that's all about, because that's how ZCL started. I'll be streaming my race personally on my channel tonight, and Wednesday Worlds is still happening tomorrow. Then we've got the wrap on Thursdays, and then we're going to do it all over again next week. So that's going to be it from us. Again, if you are in Wisconsin, you want to check out Dave Towle and everything that's going down with the KOM Challenge, you can head to Machinery Row in Madison tonight. And tomorrow, Wheel and Sprocket in Milwaukee at one of their locations. And then if you want to see me at Schwamagon this weekend, Lifetime Grand Prix. Dave, did you see what I did on Sunday? Oh, my God.
Oh, man.
I hope I'm ready. It's going to be
man.
insane. I mean, Alexi Van Mierlen, we've got Lachlan Morton.
It's going to be huge.
It's going to be huge.
Yeah.
Russell Finsterwald, there's a lot of big names showing up.
Last thought on that, this will be the one time that I think that we get everyone together on an equal playing field, right? It's not altitude. It's not 210 miles. It's just a good
2 hour, full gas.
It's
2
perfect.
hours, full gas.
Yeah.
Who's got it?
Hey, it was a
Who's got
great day. I am so stoked we got the ZRL rolling. Awesome to have you all back.
100%. Well, as everybody, you can hit those follow buttons at all the places that we are live: Twitch, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And we will see you tomorrow for Wednesday Worlds over on my personal channel. And good luck for the rest of the ZRL races for the rest of the day. And as always, ride on.